Hot take, but I don't want to work anymore. God has completely removed that like boss babe mentality from me.
Wait, did she just say that in 2025? You can practically hear the feminists and liberal bloggers cranking up their keyboards, right? And letting their fingers rip as they hear this. Their feathers are being ruffled even right now. This is triggering a seismic shift in their world. And here's what makes it wild. This woman that you've just heard, she's not even married yet, but she's already thinking like a wife who understands God's blueprint for marriage. That's not, as some people might think, weakness. This is rare. This is bold conviction. And oh, how we need more of this today. This isn't just her opinion, right? This is a direct hit to the cultural script women have been spoon fed for decades, especially by the liberals and feminists. You know, the message that has been constantly, being hard hit over and over again is like, you can be like men. You can do what men do. You don't need a man. Marriage and family can wait if you even want them, right? It's almost like these kind of whitewashed, and this is not a reference to a race, okay, or a color, but it's the thinking. People who have actually have lived their lives, they're miserable, they're almost acting like as if somebody who have fed them with their sour lemon, you know. And these are the kind of people who are pushing this kind of nonsense. But here's the thing, she bought into that. She lived it. She ran the hustle. She wore the boss babe badge. And at the end of the day, she realized it went against the grain of true femininity. It went against the grain of the way God designed it. And today we're breaking down what she said, why it's ticking people off, and the powerful lessons for wives, for you, wife, as you're watching, of entrepreneurial husbands, right? Including how to advocate for your needs, dear wife, without losing your peace or joy. So I want you to just stick around to the end. I'll show you how to get my free booklet, Reconnect, a quick guide for wives who feel like they're doing it all. Is that you? Do you sometimes feel that way? Well, this is for you. And so the details about how to do that, but also how to get on my wait list for my upcoming webinar, how to reconnect with your husband without feeling like you're the only one trying. Okay. So here's the thing. If this is your first time here, wondering who this is, I'm Kingsley Grant, licensed marriage and family therapist, certified relationship coach, and a Christ follower. And I've worked with thousands of spouses just like you. And I can tell you this, that when a wife chooses, and I've seen this in my years, almost 2 decades of working with spouses like you, and even in my own marriage of 40 years, I've found out and see this one truth that's really emerged above everything else I've done over the years. And this is when a wife chooses to embrace the mind of Christ in her marriage, she sets herself up for better connection, deeper intimacy, and a more satisfying marriage. And without losing her peace and her joy, she maintains that in the process. So if you want to do marriage God's way without feeling like you're the only one trying, I want you to go ahead and hit that subscribe button even right now, like this video, and join the waitlist. Right? You can join the waitlist at buildyourhappiermarriage.com/slash waitlist. I'll tell you more about that later on. But also, it also positions you to be a part of a very select group of wives when I do my Joyful Marriage Quest, a 6-week biblical and evidence-based coaching journey, right? So you're going to do that, but you'll get instantly the booklet I prepared for you, a quick guide for wives who feel like they're doing it all. Now, let's dive into more of what she had to say, because if you thought she said it yet, said everything yet, you're in for a surprise or maybe a rude awakening, because she says some very powerful, and I would say, well, let her speak for herself. Let's watch this.
I desire nothing more than to be provided for. Now, let me say, if somebody's providing for you, I truly believe, though, that you are serving them and serving your family. I don't want somebody to just be providing for me and I'm like laying on the couch doing nothing.
This is starting with conviction. She's not waiting for a ring to decide what kind of wife she'll be. This is what I believe so many wives have missed. They are waiting for that ring and then they go into wife mode. That is sometimes too late. It's important to go into wife mode way before the ring. I can tell you from working with so many couples in premarital counseling, I'm thinking it's almost like they're now beginning to realize, oh, I'm going to be a wife. And so I need to then figure out how it, no, that's a bit too late. Why not start earlier? This woman has, I mean, she began to do what she knows will help her in the future. She's not waiting. And notice she's not talking about taking advantage of her husband to be when that time does come. She's talking about serving. That's not losing power as some might think, right? Because what the feminists and the liberals would say is let him do all the work. Let him, I don't understand he has a role and a part. So I'm not somehow letting him off the hook, but I'm talking to you, dear wife. I'm talking to you, wife to be, in this video. I normally speak to wife primarily, but I think this might be very helpful for you as a wife to be, but also as a wife, you're going to hear some things later that is applicable to you as well. She is using her God given influence. She knows who she is, right? She understands who she is and the impact she can make, that she is the head, the neck that turns the head. She understands that the wise woman, as Proverbs 14, verse 1 says, the wise woman builds her house, but the foolish one tears it down with her own hands. She understands this going in. And so she's using her God given influence the way it was meant to be used, not to be weaponized, but to use it in a very smart way, in the way that Proverbs 31 talks about. That Proverbs 31 woman, you want to read that chapter. This is kind of thinking that we're seeing here as well. She knows something about serving her man and what that in turn does for her. She gets it, right? She gets it. So here's what's interesting. She didn't always think this way. She didn't. So listen to why I say she didn't always think this way. In her own words, let her tell you herself.
Want to serve my family if my husband is providing for me. And it's so funny because for so many years I had this like super masculine, like I want to be a boss babe and I want to do all these things, like, and I still enjoy what I do. Like I'm a hairstylist, I run a small business and I make content on the side and I love what I do. Like it brings me so much joy to spread the gospel online and I get to make people feel pretty all day. It's like a privilege and an honor to do my job.
Did you catch that? Did you hear how she framed the thinking she once had, right? Here's the truth. That super masculine drive she's talking about, that didn't just show up. It didn't just show up. It's something that has been hammered and driven into her mind. And sometimes it comes from a burnt experience in a relationship, a hurt, rejection, and so on. And I get sometimes where that comes from, but that's where she was. But it also is something that is spoon fed by the culture that's been chanting, be like a man, work like a man, live like a man for decades. And what has that gotten us in the area of family and marriages? Well, just look around. Look around and see what that has gotten us. She tried it. She hustled. She built. She made it happen and then realized it didn't fit. It didn't fit. It did not get her what she hoped she was looking for. Why? Because it went against the grain of God's design for femininity, right? It is. It goes against that grain. It's amazing to see how in recent times, have you noticed that? How many women are becoming more masculine in their thinking? Is it any wonder we have today so many women who are thinking that there must be a man trapped in a woman's body? When I was growing up, I can tell you, and many people of my generation, we never had this kind of conversation or this kind of situations where women are so boldly and in your face taking it, you either take it or leave it. And I'm not somehow making this about trends, right? But I do know that I'm not seeing it at the level at which I now see it. Why? I believe the culture has cultivated that, has constantly spoon fed and bombarded the minds of women. And so it seems to be cool and mainstream now, but it's going against the design that God has for femininity. And I can tell you, most men, most real men, right? Masculine men. I'm talking about your alpha male. They don't go for that stuff. They don't go for that stuff. They want a woman who supports, who respects herself, respects him, not trying to be his competition, not trying to be as masculine as he is. No, no, he doesn't want that. Not that he's afraid or somehow is insecure. No, it's not that. But why waste the energy in trying to convince somebody otherwise? So her wake up call has led her to where she's at right now. And this is where she's at. Here's how her thinking has changed. Let's watch.
However, with that being said, I would much rather be cooking and cleaning for my husband and running my kids to soccer practice. If I had to choose one or the other, I'm for sure every time going to choose my husband and my family. That I don't even have yet, but I know that the Lord puts the desire, he knows the desires of our heart because he puts them there.
You've heard what she said. Now, I know, and we're going to get there because I can imagine where some, as maybe you're watching this and something is kind of raising up within you, right? You're feeling your temperature go up. You're feeling the blood flow is rapidly, moving faster, your heartbeat, because you can't wait. Possibly, maybe you're typing away, and I would love to hear you tell me what you're thinking right now. What's going through your mind on what you've just heard? Let's get it. Let's have a conversation. Let's have a civil conversation, right? And also, would love to hear that, your thoughts about this idea. And again, I would love for you to subscribe. So hit that subscribe button as you are typing away in the comment section. But here's where the cultural script falls apart because you can't argue with a changed heart, right? You cannot argue with a changed heart. This woman been there, done that, right? Wore the t-shirt. And here she's speaking from her own life where she's at right now. She's aligning her mindset before she even steps into marriage. That's like training. before the big game. You don't wait for the big game to then go into training. No, you train and prepare for the big game. I see a lot of these athletes, super athletes who, the Olympians, those who compete in the Olympics, 4 years of training for a few minutes of competition. They don't wait until the Olympics to start training. No, they get ready for the Olympics. So why isn't it that in marriage, why aren't the same things being applicable here? So she is aligning her mindset before she even stepped into marriage, right? So, dear wife, I want you to understand this is huge. It means you're not fighting against your husband's drive. You're running alongside it. The quicker you can figure out that he is for you and want to please you, the hours he's spending, the long evenings, maybe sometimes, unfortunately, time away from you. And I'm not advocating for that. He needs to find a balance. And if you watch my videos, you will hear me talk about that at different times. So I'm not saying that he should continue and, you have to kind of wait until he's made it. No, he is busy. I can tell you as one myself, a husband who wants to provide and want my wife to have the things that I could only dream of. It's in my heart. And the more I feel like I'm cranking out things and working hard is for that purpose. And so your husband, is doing that. And he would love for you to sometimes acknowledge and show an appreciation and gratitude. Not only have him hear the complaints and see the attitude and the cold shoulders and, all those distancing and all those things. He has emotions too. He feels it. He sees it. He may not say, because most men, we don't talk about those things too much. And I can tell you the truth, it's our ego. So he might not be saying, but he's feeling, because men do have feelings. So the quicker you can figure out that he is for you and want to please you, the better it will be for you and everyone else. Because this kind of thinking runs counterculture. Now, having said that, you know what is coming, right? You know what I'm hearing out there. I'm hearing almost like they click the keyboard. I can hear the fuming. I can just hear what people are saying. I can hear things like, she's trying to set women back 50 years, barefoot and pregnant and in the kitchen. I can hear that. I can hear, oh, she's clueless. Just wait until she's married. I can hear, men will take advantage of someone like this. That's weakness. Really? Really? How is that working out? Maybe for you or for those around you? What have you noticed? How is it working out? But I can tell you, I heard it all before. But this isn't about going backward. It's about going back to God's blueprint, where mutual honor and respect build stronger marriages, not power struggles, not when you're trying to compete with your husband and take his role or his position. Those are things that goes counter to what God intends. Because the Bible says in Ephesians 5, it says, wives, respect your husbands. Husband, love your wives. So God has given the equation how it should be. But once you deviate away from that and move away, we're going to have the problems we're having today. Can I just say this, that when a man fails, and dear wife, please understand, I'm trying to help you. Okay. I'm a man. I'm trying to take you behind the curtain and tell you how we think, what goes through our minds. Don't try to have another woman try to tell you what we are thinking. She doesn't know. She doesn't know. No matter how skilled she is, no matter how learned she is, how many degrees she have, she cannot think like a man does. She doesn't have the capacity. Neither do men have the capacity to think like a woman does. And I get it. But I'm trying to help you better understand your husband. I wanted to show you when I wrote this book, this was what I had in mind. I wrote this book, The Joyful Wife. And it says 7 connection skills to better understand your husband, rekindle love, and deepen intimacy. I had this kind of thinking in mind when I was writing this book because I want you to understand this. I want you to empower it. I want you, dear wife, to understand the better you understand your husband, the better it is for you and your relationship and how to speak to him and how to get his attention. It's not trying to outdo him and compete with him and muscle up. And no, it's none of those things. It doesn't work. I can tell you it doesn't work. But what it is when you are able to serve him and support him and appreciate him and let him know those things, it's surprising what that does. What it does, it calls something out of him, his best self, and he presents that to you. Now, this doesn't give him permission to coast, right? Like I said before, but it motivates him to rise up and provide, protect, and love like Christ calls him to. Now, here's the thing. In a world where boss babe is treated like a crown, it takes guts to lay it down and say, I'd rather honor my husband and raise my family. That is not what most wives are saying today. Some want to, but they're afraid. They don't want to be canceled or think, you know, that think a certain way off. No, no. But here's the thing. The bolder you can become and do not care about what others think because God has called you, right? You to build your house, not somebody else. You to build your house as a wise wife and not be there like the foolish who tears it down with her own hands. But if you have committed and say, you know what, I'd rather honor my husband and raise my family, regardless of what the world or the society or culture says, that's not weakness, right? That's strength because every person who does the opposite, that's what weakness looks like. But when you do this idea of stepping away, that's strength the culture doesn't know what to do with. It's also the kind of thinking that preserves marriages and maybe even the culture itself. So, dear wife, supporting and respecting your man doesn't erase your dreams, it strengthens your marriage so you both can thrive. Now, here's it, this seismic shift is not easy, as you can imagine, right? Because I know this woman will receive a lot of flack, and maybe even me, I'm receiving a lot of flack right now, but it's okay. I'm okay. Doesn't bother me. Truth must be told. And this kind of thinking requires some new ways of approaching what marriage should look like, and also to be surrounded by like minded individuals. And if you are ready to make this shift of simply or simply find the support you need, then it's time to join the waitlist for the Joyful Marriage Quest and get my free booklet, Reconnect, a quick guide for wives who feel like they're doing it all, and also to be on the next webinar. So again, buildyourhappiermarriage.com/waitlist will get you there. The link will be in the description of this video. So here's a question that I would love for you to answer in the comments. Ready? Here's a question. What would you want to say to this woman you've just heard from? Do you agree with her? Let's talk in the comments. So let's get started, get the fingers moving in the comments, and let's see what you have to say. And also be sure to subscribe, hit that thumbs up button, leave your thoughts below. And so before you go, I want you to watch this video right here that will help you live a more joyful and peaceful marriage. Now, may God bless you and keep you, and I'll see you on the next video. God bless. Peace out.